Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Chris and Jessi Show with Chrissy and Jess. I'm Chrissy.
And I'm Chris.
Oh, weird. It's not Jess.
No, I'm
No,
much handsomer.
much bigger boobs, too.
And I'm not even going to dispute that. I can't.
So tonight, unfortunately, Jess is not joining us. She is in the background, though, because we have a special interview with Vermin Supreme. Jess works for the National Party, like everyone knows. And because of that, we didn't want libertarians to get all salty about her being able to interview a presidential candidate.
Wait a minute. Are you saying libertarians are a-holes? Can we curse on this, by the way?
Yes, assholes. They are assholes. They are dick cunt bitches.
That's what I was gonna say. I just, I'm a guest. I don't want to offend or anything.
Yeah, no, they're cunt dick bitches. They are always trying to bully people. So we're trying to kind of get away from bullying Jess. So instead of her doing the interview tonight, Chris is going to. So you get to look at two of the biggest boobs in podcast history.
No bigger boobs in the entire libertarian movement than these two.
So, Chris Spangle, he actually hosts We Are Libertarians. He has like a whole podcast, little enclave thing with a bunch of podcasters in it. However, he has not added the Chris and Jessi Show.
Well, I'm willing to deal. So what can you bring me? It's like a dowry. I need goats if you want to be on my network. It's a very valuable network. It's huge. With Brian Nichols' show and Trisha Stewart, man, with the Gingerarchy and We Are Libertarians and Boss Hog. Let's see, it goes on and on and on. Remzo Martinez just joined us. What can you bring to me?
Have you not seen my $1 million smile?
It's pretty nice, actually. Yeah, very white teeth. How did you get your teeth so white?
It's a lot of bleach.
Stick your tongue out.
It's okay. It's my son's birthday, and we had birthday cake, and it literally dyed my tongue blue. But it matches my background because I'm actually in the future, while Chris is in the past. Because, as many people know, Vermin Supreme is a time traveler. So
yes,
we wanted to make him feel comfortable. I'm wearing my Team Supreme shirt. So, and this is actually an interesting duo that we have interviewing Vermin tonight, because I am on Team Supreme. That is my man. And Chris is a little whiny bitch.
I don't get it at all. I mean, really, I don't. I'm sure he's a very nice man, and I look forward to speaking with him, but I don't get it at all.
I don't get it at all. See, look at me. Now I'm bullying.
I'm not bullying. You run for office, prepare to get bullied, sir. You want to run against Donald Trump and not get bullied? Okay.
Right. So, Chris, how has coronavirus been affecting you?
Yeah, like everybody, I have my good hours and my bad hours. It's like you wake up and you feel sorry for yourself and you cry at videos of old ladies screaming on their porch, "Give me a hug!" Like, and then you get up and you like read something about food lines and food pantries, and you go, "I am so blessed." It's really an extraordinary time to like live through. There's nothing that I think we will ever live through that will compare with like this month. Hopefully this is the worst of it, that it never gets any worse than this in terms of the virus or the economic fallout. But it's truly it's just a roller coaster of emotion. Like, I think everybody feels some level of grief and loss, and that's as little as, I can't get my hair cut, this isn't fair, to, my mom is a nurse in the RN in the ICU, and like that is terrifying. And so, it just goes from, and then there's like, I'm so glad I got to stay home today and I get to like walk in the back porch and look at the sunshine, and isn't this better than seeing my coworkers? So there's just like, it's just so odd. I don't know. I have so many feelings and I can't handle it.
Well, yeah, that's I think that's pretty much the typical response everyone's having. It's been sad, it's been happy. I'm just happy that I paid my rent. There's lots of people who aren't even able to do that.
Yeah, like my work stuff is stable. I mean, that's okay. Like, are you okay? Like, have you been on furloughed or anything like that?
I am a bartender.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So,
I have probably missed out on about $5,000 right
oh,
now. I make about anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 a week. Unfortunately, though, I am a bad girl, and I don't claim my tips. So unemployment is giving me $110 a week.
see, you try to be libertarian in one area, and it screws you when you want to be a statist in another.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Let me be a statist and give me my money. It's my money, and I want it now. I'm calling JG Wentworth.
Well, I wouldn't do that. He seems like a very expensive usury type fellow. But my thing with unemployment is like you do pay into it. Your employer pays into it. So it's not like, it's not like the bailout money where it's just straight up tax money, but where the printer's going, but I don't blame you at all for filing for unemployment.
My dad actually the other day was like, where are they going to get all this money? I'm like, they're literally printing it.
They're
That's
not.
where they're literally just printing the money.
And I don't think people have any clue what that means. Like
yeah.
they don't understand what that means for their financial future in like 20 years. It's like, yeah, a car is going to be $50,000 for a 2007 Datsun.
Yeah. I was trying to explain, how luckily my son's kids get to pay it back.
Yeah.
So Chris, on this show, which is tonight, the Chris and Jessi Show, we like to talk about things we hate because we hate everything. So what are a couple of things that you really, really just have to get off your chest?
Man, there's so many things I hate. You invited the right person to be a co-host tonight. I was driving. That's right. I left the house yesterday. And I was driving past a playground, and there was that orange fencing, construction fencing around a child's playground in a park in Greenwood, Indiana. And I just went, the sunlight kills the virus. What are we doing? Let people out. You're just shoveling them all into a store, and there's 75 people in line at Bob Evans. I swear, there were like the entire parking lot of Bob Evans was full. So none of it's working. Like everybody's out. Let's just everybody get back to your life. Just if you're not going to follow the social distancing rules, just suffer the consequences, I guess. But I hated seeing that. It ticked me off. Like I am not a libertarian who doesn't understand biology. Like I'm a libertarian who believes that you should stay at home, quarantine yourself, social distancing voluntarily. Like I've been on that train from the beginning. And I don't understand how this is the other thing I hate, how so many libertarians do not have the cognitive function to separate biology and liberty. They can be two separate things. So you don't need the government to voluntarily shelter at home. And if I say I want to shelter at home because I think it's the right thing to do to stay at home, it doesn't mean I'm for government shutdowns. And there's a lot of people that don't seem to get that. So I hate that too.
Wait, no, you're saying libertarians are like that?
I think there's a lot of people in the libertarian movement or conservative movement. There's a lot of talk radio hosts or TV show hosts who, instead of looking up information, would rather make up conspiracy theories about death counts and then publish fake hypothetical situations like the Ron Paul Institute about the death counts. When if you pick up a phone call and you call a doctor, they tell you. I literally called someone at the CDC and I said, please explain this to me like I'm 5. Like, where is Fauci fudging the death count numbers? And they said, no, it's up to literally every doctor. Individual doctors fill out the death certificates and then turn it in, and then we gather that information. And so you're telling me that the incentive structure, libertarian economists haven't figured out the incentive structure of that, and we're claiming that thousands of doctors are just fudging the numbers for what? What's the incentive there? Just to lose their license for fun? So I think there's a lot of my show is called We Are Libertarians, Chrissy, and I want to change the name every fucking day. I don't get it. I'm sitting in this apartment boiling and mad at my own people, and I hate that I feel that way. But it's like, just Google some shit before you post it. Like, what?
Yeah, just Google. It's not hard. I do it all the time.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm getting a little fed up with libertarians, but I also love my people, and that's why I just get mad.
Yeah.
They're the most generous people. They're the most giving people. It's just they get online and they're not.
Yeah, it's funny. Like they're like totally, completely cool, like in person, and then they get online, and it's like, where did you go? Like, what happened to you?
Yeah, like, but I get it. I think like it's a hard time to be a libertarian because on one hand, you have like the most oppressive local, state, and federal actions in our lifetime.
Yeah.
So that just makes you crazy, and you hate that. But then at the same time, it's like you've got some of the best examples of libertarianism to talk about ever. And like the testing issue, instead of 100 points of failure and success in testing, the CDC centralized it to 1 point of failure and they failed. So like there's a great argument to be made that we're sheltering in our houses because the government failed. And so there's, we don't need government action because the NBA and the NCAA were sheltering in place and voluntarily shutting down. My company started voluntarily shutting down before the government got involved. The government was late. I mean, as always, they were reactionary. So you've got all these great examples of libertarianism and how our ideas work and how their ideas fail, along with like the most oppressive, like sucks to live under this regime. So it factors in. It's just kind of like
well, luckily we got out all of that hate before we bring on Vermin Love. Yeah, there's a lot of it inside. Well, luckily Vermin Supreme's middle name is actually Love.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I think that we're gonna just go ahead and bring them on. So we have Vermin Supreme with his pony and his mask, and we have Spike Cohen with his really horrible haircut.
My haircut was fine. No, my haircut was fine. I just can't get my haircut for like 5 weeks.
Can we zoom in on Spike's
terrible hair?
No exotic haircut from prison. I don't even know. I'm sorry for bullying you, but come on, man.
I can't tell what's worse.
It's terrible.
The chest hair or the head hair?
I like the chest hair.
Do you mean which is better? My luxurious chest mane or my equally luxurious unkempt hair?
Look at Vermin with his, is that a mask made out of ties, Vermin? Okay. I actually, I have, uh-oh.
Oh, Vermin's muted.
And we can't hear you, Verm.
God damn it! Oh, sorry. But no, this is yes, it's a good mask. It's a solid mask. A lot of people have a lot of neckties around the house, and you might need it to help protect you. It's also a good Cthulhu thing.
Yeah, I have my Vermin Supreme tie. I didn't realize I could wear it as a mask as well.
Yes. That very glitter necktie could save your life.
It's very fashionable. All right, guys, so let's just jump into the meat of this here. So as a lot of people know, Vermin Supreme is running for president as a libertarian. The man next to him is Spike Cohen. He is running for his vice president. Yeah, I don't know which side it's on. It's on one of these sides. So both of these gentlemen are absolutely fantastic. I love them so much, and we're really excited to bring them on and kind of talk with them a little bit. So my very first question is for Vermin, but Spike, feel free to interject. So Vermin, you ran for president as a Democrat previously. You have a lot of left-leaning support. How do you think the Libertarian Party and Libertarian candidates in general can attract more of more progressives and more left-leaning?
I'm going to take that as a two-part question because that slanderous lie that I have been a Democrat needs to be addressed flat out. Yes, it is true that I have run as a Democrat, but the fact of the matter is I never was a Democrat. I was never active in the Democratic Party or anything of the sort. So that's simply a misnomer. And of course, many Democrats, it depends, once again, because there's a lot of Democrats, as I've discovered. And ultimately, the litmus test is how they react to my hardcore harassment of them. I mean, earlier in this election cycle, up in the New Hampshire primary and the first week in November, which was the period for filing up there, totally mixed it up with the Biden people, and they were just hating me hard. The Warren supporters were hating me hard. But on the other hand, the Tulsi supporters were very much amenable to me. The Yang supporters were very much favorable in my direction, as were the Bernie supporters. So obviously, the Democratic Party itself is not a monolith, apparently. Although monoliths are super cool, aren't they? And the second part, of course, is how can we attempt to attract left-leaners into our direction? And I believe that is simply to be able to continue what we have been doing, which is contrasting the full-on failure of the governments and concentrating on the Venn diagram overlaps that we possess. When I was up once again during the primary, when I asked Tulsi if she had read the Libertarian platform, she had not, but she responded with a very impassioned rant about the war and ending the wars and being against the wars and civil liberties. So right off the bat, there are two, very strong agreements that we have, and I believe that it's simply incumbent upon us once again to continue to show the fallacies inherent in the belief that the government is going to know what's best for you and act in your best interest, and simply deconstruct and put forth the arguments and the statistics that put into question claims such as gun control and stuff, and the need for it. I mean, and offering libertarian solutions. I mean, once again, I was asked that very question on my evening podcast, which is called "Chilling by Some Nice Spot with Vermin," and it airs about 5:30 on Facebook Live pretty much every day, and every day I try to take the people to a different nice moving water, ideally, or just some chill spot, nature sounds. It's not very.
It is must see TV.
It's not very political. I guess it's part of that slow TV movement almost. But yeah, somebody did question about my stance on M for 4, because currently there's a huge tsunami, if you will, of Bernie supporters looking for a place to land, and many of them are very predisposed to myself and what I've been doing and what I represent in all of these things, and they seem to understand that yes, I'm running in the Libertarian Party, and so but once again, I maintain that the kids are politically flexible, or polyflexible, as they may say, and essentially they are looking for solutions. They're young, they are open, and they're looking for what makes sense to them. And when they hear things like, everybody should be covered by healthcare, I mean, they say, yes, that sounds great. Of course they should. I mean, why shouldn't they? And so it's a matter for us to explain to them why that is a completely inefficient and overreaching concept that whose goal, healthcare for all, or affordable, accessible healthcare for all, can indeed be met through a variety of other measures also often including deregulation of the current system and things of that nature that would make the whole medical industrial complex a more affordable thing. I mean, shit, Medicare, they pay pennies on the dollar and to the hospitals, and that's why the hospitals have to jack up the prices through the roof. I mean, that's why they're charging so much for your your aspirin or something like that, because they have to compensate for the fact that they're only going to get paid X and X percent on the dollar. So there's that, and just continually making these arguments about subscription healthcare services, and I mean, I just point, and once again, I think we're always looking for ideas. We're always trying to open and expand the possibilities. Of course, Bernie pulled them way in one direction, but once again, it was this utopian vision of free healthcare and free college and ponies, and we have to pull it back a little bit, or make them understand that it's just not a realistic thing to do.
So is it a matter of connecting with people on, because I'm not a left libertarian, and I come from the right, and I tend to that's where my bias falls. So I don't necessarily have I'm not experienced in dialoguing with people that may come from the left, other than hardcore Democrats, which I'm not going to win over anyways.
No, screw the Dems.
Right. So when you're talking to people, is it a matter of connecting on saying, yes, I agree with you on the problems. We agree on the problems. We differ on the solutions, and this is the path that we ought to go.
Absolutely.
Is that where
yes, I think so. It was a fun little trick that Larry Sharp played at one event I was at. It was like, how many people here are against universal health care? And like everybody rose their hand and started booing it and stuff. But then he said, no. Think about it. I mean, we're not against universal health care per se. No, we are against the government being involved in it. And so it's a matter of finding reasonable solutions that we can present. I mean, and once again, I was pointing out that, up until 1964, I think this was something that I picked up at one libertarian convention or another, that medical services were a cash-based operation, total cash-based up until 64. And then, of course, it was a nonprofit operation up until 1972, when Nixon decided that it should become a profit industry. And then, obviously, it become industry maximized their profits and did what they could do and continue to do so. So there's that. These are just things that we have to consider when we, once again, I mean, people are always wondering, why are things the way they are? And it's so much easier to understand that, in this world where we exist right now, the government is in charge. And so it's very easy for people to assume that is where all the solutions are. And so, yes, it is incumbent upon us to attempt to address their concerns with libertarian solutions.
Well, and let's talk about why they are going towards someone like Bernie in the first place. You look at Bernie's voters; they're very similar to Vermin supporters. They skew very young, and a lot of them tend to. These are people that have been left behind. They've been told a lie since they were kids that you go to college and you get an education and you're going to be able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps by everyone else. What no one told them is that thanks to decades of terrible central planning, that's increasingly impossible for most kids who aren't already upper middle to upper income bracket in their household. So they come out of school now, they're an ungodly amount in debt already. And I mean, they can't even get insurance in their own name yet. Or they can't rent a car in their own name yet, but they can have, $250,000 or $100,000 in debt for a job that is they're not even able to get. So now they're working in the service industry with, six figures or high five figures of student debt. When they talk to their parents or grandparents about it, they're told about stories about how they were able to work their way through college back when it cost a fraction of what it does now, thanks to the terrible policies that their parents and grandparents voted for. And then here comes this, benevolent looking old man to say, well, I'm going to tax the wealthy and give you all the stuff that you need. And when, their parents and grandparents say they can't do that, they're destroying free market capitalism. To them, that's great. Good. If this is free market capitalism, which it isn't, but if that's what this is, let's destroy it and let's tax grandma and grandpa and get me and the wealthy corporations and the wealthy people and get me the things that I need, because I've been lied to the whole time. This entire system has left me behind. What a perfect opportunity for libertarians to get over ourselves maybe once or twice and actually talk to them and listen to what they have to say. And instead of screaming at them that healthcare is not a right, talk to them about what their actual concerns are and be able to message to them the fact that this system has left them behind, and it's left them behind precisely because of terrible central planning from Republicans and Democrats, and that and that we as libertarians present not just a viable alternative as a third party, but as a completely different alternative, a completely different way of looking at the nature of whether the government should even exist in the first place, and if it should, then what it should be providing, and how it's done a terrible job of providing it thus far, and why it's done a terrible job of providing it thus far. And a lot of Bernie supporters, I see it every day on Twitter, that they're saying, at least for now, they're voting for Vermin as just a protest, a big FU to the whole system. But that's an opening for us to have a dialogue with them about what libertarianism actually is. Make no mistake, most of these kids they support Vermin, and they either don't know about libertarianism or they're actively opposed to it. And here is an opportunity, but they'll vote for a libertarian candidate if it's Vermin. So here's a great opportunity to get votes that no other candidate could get, and to open the door for an entire generation of voters who will be voting and helping make policy decisions long after all of us are dead. I mean, some of these kids are going to be doing it 70, 80 years from now. So what an amazing opportunity we have.
I actually prefer a different method of communication. I like calling them cucks and snowflakes.
There's always room for that. There's always room.
I like that. I like that too.
Have you thought about outreach to simps? Outreach for simps, I think, is really an untapped resource.
She'll date you if you vote for Vermin.
We got tons of simps on the wall Instagram. I'm just saying that might be a goal. So I kind of hear it through the thread of both of what you're saying.
I'm shaking my head as if though I know what that term refers to, of course.
I love it.
It is the new version of cuck. Simp is like a weak beta male who just is friend zoned hard.
Simpleton when I was a kid.
So this is what a perfect opportunity to say she'll date you if you vote for Vermin.
That's right.
Like,
I am trying to forge that incel sex worker alliance. I've been working very hard on that.
I feel like if you went with the slogan "Vote for Vermin" at 25% testosterone increase, might be a good selling point. Add that to the pony thing.
Yeah. You can have a beard like Vermin or chest hair like Spike. You vote for Vermin today and buy our exciting supplement, our male enhancement supplement.
Oh man, can we have a male enhancement supplement? Yeah.
I feel like you just channeled Alex Jones.
A little bit.
No,
a little bit, yeah.
Like he was in the room.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I'm hearing from both of you that like empathy is central to it.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that just because somebody has a different opinion, they are not my ideological enemy.
Wrong.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'll destroy you.
You may be older than me, but boy, what a simp.
No, you're the simp, bro, and I mean that like simpleton.
So, guys, I know that you both have relationships, but we never really get to hear about Vermin's. We hear a little bit about Spike's way too hot for him wife.
I am an attractive and I'm a get. I'm a big.
So, can you guys?
Well, I'm a DILF, and that is part of my appeal, from what I understand. Or GILF. I'm sorry, I'm a GILF, and
So, tell us about your partner, Vermin.
Yes. Becky is my wife of some 30 years now. We met on a peace march in Michigan shortly after I left Baltimore and joined the peace group, the Seeds of Peace. We were doing support for mobile protests. The group had a porta potty and a truck with a half a dozen porta potties. It had a kitchen trailer. It had a 2,500 gallon water trailer. And it was a spin-off of the Great Peace March, which was a peace march that came from LA to DC. I guess I'm giving a little too much detail on the
tell us more about the porta potty.
Well, they were very nice. We were able to decorate them. I totally decorated them and made them very, very exciting for the people. Different theme ones. They were like, yes, clean and friendly, I might add. But we were in charge of that sort of thing, helping move these things. And we were driving through Michigan. I think it was either Kalamazoo and on our way to Lansing or something like that. And I don't know. I saw Becky. Saw this very attractive young peace marcher, and at the time I was a virile young person, and I took a little shining to her, and we hooked up, and then she had a vehicle at the time, and we drove to Massachusetts. She offered me a ride, and so that was a very beautiful thing. And then we traveled America for 3 years in a vehicle with a little cab over camper, and we did political activism. We would sort of travel from down south from the Kings Bay, Georgia, where they had the nuclear weapons deployed, to Cape Canaveral, Florida, where they tested the Trident D5 missiles, and we held down the fort for some friends of ours who were in jail for a simple crossing the line down there, Cape Canaveral Action Committee or some such, and the Nevada nuclear test site. We would spend weeks or months out there, and we sort of traveled the country clockwise for about 3 years, following these different political actions and visiting our kinfolk, hers in Michigan and mine in Massachusetts. And 1 year, we were doing temp work wherever we were, doing whatever we could find. And she was doing some substitute teaching, and a local Head Start offered her the opportunity to do some teaching. They didn't want to hire her as a sub, but they would hire her full time. And that led to us moving to here in Cape Ann. And we found this beautiful little house in the woods with an incredibly cheap rent. And we've been here for 30 years, and she is not into the limelight. She is not into she's played out on my campaign, quite frankly.
They usually are.
First 2 years, she was more excited by it, but she has tolerated what I have been doing, and she's been extremely tolerant when it comes to this this libertarian campaign run. For months at a stretch, I was gone every weekend, for several months in a row, doing the debates at the state conventions and like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she, and that took a while, took some adjustment, sure. And but it got to the point where she realized that if she kept herself busy, she wasn't so pissed at me for being gone. And so she understands. She puts it in the context that I am following my bliss, and she has allowed me to do that, and I'm very appreciative of that. And we have a wonderful relationship.
She's one of the sweetest women I've ever met in my life. She's an incredibly sweet lady. I love Becky.
And I will say, on the streets, when we're protesting on the streets, and when she does accompany me, because she's more than likely she'll attend the street political demonstrations more so than the Liberty conventions. But she has she has a really solid knack of being able to be exceptionally situationally aware of what's going on and pays attention to the cop behavior. And so if I'm like up front doing something wacky, she'll be the one who notices if the white shirt people, the cops who are in charge, start to huddle with their troops. And, she can tell if something's going to happen. And oftentimes she will go up and intersperse, and she will talk to the head cop and interface with the head cop and say, "Oh no, that's just Vermin. He's a clown. Don't worry about him." And has saved my ass on several occasions.
Nothing says true love like swine control.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, when I got pulled over, my husband told the cop that the pipe was mine. So I guess that's the difference between Brandon and Becky. He's like, "What? They were going to charge you anyway."
Well, my wife, that's quite a segue. My wife would never do that. My wife, when she gets pulled over, she yells at the cop and explains that America should be using kilometers like every other civilized country, and then she hands them Ontario a Canadian driver's license, and they look at it and they get flustered, and she yells at them, and then literally peels off. Like, I've been there. So she deals with police slightly differently. She condescends them and then drives off real fast, and they leave her alone because they don't want to do the paperwork. My wife is a beautiful goddess of a woman, who I am completely deserving of because I am also an attractive man. We just recently celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary. We met 13 years ago, and she came here from beautiful, beautiful Toronto, came down. As soon as she saw me at the airport, realized that I was her future and that she could never do any better than this, including my haircut, and especially my haircut, and because my hair looks way better if I can get it cut. I'm not over the haircut thing, but she's an amazing woman. She is very much like Becky in that she doesn't like to be in the limelight, and has also been incredibly tolerant of my campaigning. So yeah, no, I absolutely love her and adore her, and I have nothing but good things to say about her. And yeah, she's not a libertarian, but her way of de-escalating cops by escalating to the point where they back off is something I've never beheld any other person be able to do without getting tased. So like, they get mad, they get up, they go, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Well, next time don't bother people." And then she drives. I mean, she's absolutely incredible.
So, to kind of, let's see. Chris, you were supposed to ask the next one.
Is it my turn? Well, so I'm going to continue in the serious vein, if you don't mind, Chrissy.
Go ahead, skip my fucking questions. Fuck
All right. It's not that I don't care about your favorite snack as a kid, but
that was literally the question.
Yeah, we got presidential candidates here, so
I'm giving people what they want.
Boxers. I'm wearing briefs and boxers. I'm wearing boxers over my briefs, over my panties.
I did inhale. I did inhale.
I'm inhaling right now.
All right. So I've been involved in the Libertarian Party since 2007, 2008. Like a lot of people, I've put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. I look at, I ran Rupert for governor, his campaign, the Good Survivor guy, and we were very cognizant of the fact that people looked at a guy who was a reality TV star and dressed in tie-dye and had a big beard. We were very cognizant of how the public perceived Rupert, even though he was a very serious candidate and a very qualified candidate for the office. We ran into a tremendous amount of trouble just based on his physical appearance and just the sideshow of it all. And I think there's a lot of people, myself included, who look at the boot on the head and the performance art and go, I've worked a long time for the party. I've got a lot invested in this, and I don't want to hand it over to somebody who's going to make a mockery of all this and make a mockery of the electoral process, especially when we've got two of the worst candidates ever. So what do you say to those delegates who are going to go into the next convention and vote on your candidacy, who have that same kind of feeling of, I'm really worried about the public perceiving you as a joke, even though you're a perfectly lovely man and you're very intelligent. This is the first time I'm enjoying our conversation. Not many voters are going to take the opportunity to ever engage. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't taken that time to investigate your candidacy because of the sideshow aspect and the ponies and all of that stuff. So what do you say to that?
Well, I say, number one, that's rather unfortunate. Number two, worst two candidates in our lifetime. That was certainly true of the last time also. And I think that you have to, I'm sure that you've heard my suggestion and my inoculation for the Libertarian Party itself. For me, and I understand the question is, can a serious party put up a perceived joke candidate and not have that stick to them? And I totally believe that the answer is 100% yes. It's absolutely in the framing. And that framing is something along the lines of, Yes, we are the Libertarian Party. Yes, we are a very serious party, and we've been working on many serious things, and we have some very serious solutions for the ails of society, and we intend on presenting them. However, and the pivot's very important. Electoral politics, the duopoly, and especially the presidential election cycle has risen to the level of a joke, and with love and with spite. Here is Vermin Supreme.
I love a good spite candidate. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, this is pure spite. This whole thing's pure spite.
The hashtag "We are in on the joke" or "in on the joke" inoculates the party against it of the accusation of being the joke. It's essentially the party is owning the joke. Yes, I'm not saying that the joke is not part of and parcel of the presentation. Of course, I mean what I am offering, what I have been pointing out is that I have been spending 30 years running the satirical campaign, but that has given me a level of notoriety and name recognition, political goodwill, and things of that nature. And that is what I am bringing to the table. Yes, the character. Yes, the wacky platform planks. However, there is that pivot every time, and I'm sure you've been seeing the live debates where I'm presenting the issues. And yes, I do that with funny, a zinger, one-liner, and then pivot right to the real deal, the platform. I mean, I have been presenting the Libertarian Party platform as my own platform since the inception of this campaign. I believe firmly that if you are going to represent a party or shill for a party, then you need to represent to the public what that party stands for. And I believe that is clearly encapsulated in the platform itself. And so if you go to my website, verminsupreme2020.com, it is there. So yes, there is the policy platforms, which are somewhat fanciful, may include concentration camps for the kids. But then there is this, hard pivot. And another thing, of course, is my satire, my presentation. I believe personally that most people get it. When I'm talking about the mandatory toothbrushing laws, people get it. The phrase "free pony" is a phrase that I have introduced into the American political lexicon using my communication strategy. When I brought that into being, it was a campaign promise, and then it became public, and now it's commonly thrown around everywhere for what exactly it means for a giveaway. So the satire, I have always felt, is pretty clear, and I think it addresses most of the shortfalls in the government and society. And I've been happily presenting it to the people as an eye-opening experience. And now I understand people's concerns and reservations as very well they should have them, but I can only hope to allay them by myself, that I am in the knowledge. And once again, it's just an offer that I am making, that I'm putting on the table to the Libertarian Party. It is just one way to go. It is one option. Granted, it is not orthodox. No, not at all. But perhaps it is time to move beyond the politics of respectability. Perhaps it is time to move beyond such timidness and just go for the jugular, go for the balls.
Our current president is a bright orange man who speaks at a low scream and gold plates everything he possibly can. Respectability politics is dead. People respect what they perceive to be boldness and fearlessness, and Vermin has been showing that for decades. Chris, when I was in New Hampshire with Vermin back in February at the New Hampshire primaries, we would go into events for Democratic presidential candidates like Tulsi Gabbard, like Andrew Yang, like Bernie Sanders, who ended up winning there. We would go, and a good portion of the crowd would be more interested to engage with Vermin than with the actual candidate that they were there to support. They're there wearing, Tulsi pins and Yang pins and everything else. They're choosing to talk with Vermin and to take selfies with Vermin and to engage with Vermin and to tweet about Vermin. And we saw that over and over and over again. We saw that at the Tulsi campaign. The Tom Steyer campaign had 6 people there, but they had the best food. But then we went to the Yang event right after he dropped out, and we picked up quite a few of his social media team. They were there, mourning that he had just dropped out, And we showed up and Vermin did on the Yang stage, did his shtick, and a bunch of people signed up. We actually got people to sign up for the New Hampshire Libertarian Party there. We went to the Bernie event right after he was announced the winner. And as he was giving the speech, we walked in and I was holding a pony head on a stick and holding it up like a mace or something like that to announce the arrival of our next president. And people were jumping off of the bleachers by the hundreds to talk to Vermin during Bernie's victory speech. Vermin Supreme has a level of credibility and popularity that not only no other candidate in the Libertarian Party has, but that the Libertarian Party itself doesn't even have. It's Vermin who is putting himself out there and taking the potential credibility hit of saying, yeah, I'm with an actual serious party this time around, and I'd like you to take a look at this party that the Libertarian Party in 49 years of existence hasn't won a single statewide or federal election. 49 years. That is 12 election cycles, or 12 presidential election cycles, and 24 total election cycles, including midterms. Not one. I think at this point, it's safe to say that we can potentially do, yes, this is a very severe deviation from the strategy of how you present a respectable politician, which again, I think in the age of Trump and even before then is dead. We have, I would say, a potential that, yes, this is a deviation, but it's, I would say, a deviation. We can try that once. I think we can try when we've had a 0% success rate at both the statewide and federal level. I'd say we could shoot for something different. And I think that the hubris that it takes for us, and I say this with all due respect to the people that I'm crapping on right now, but I think that the hubris that it takes for us to talk about the respectability, and we could lose everything when our high water mark is 3.25% after nearly 50 years of trying to get into the public consciousness and effectively not even moving the needle. We actually proudly say to people who say, you're stealing the vote from Donald Trump, we go, well, actually we take a little from both, and we really haven't changed enough to cost the election for anyone. That's not something to be proud of. The fact that we aren't even a factor in national politics is nothing to be proud of. And the idea that we should continue to be Charlie Brown to the media and government systems Lucy with the football every single damn election cycle. We go and they go, oh, well, if you give us a nice respectable person in a suit who gives us nice sound bit quips, we'll be sure to give you a chance this time. And we go, okay. And we run to go and kick the football, and they pull it out from under us every single time with these Aleppo gotcha moments. And then we go, oh, I can't believe I fell for that again. We better find someone next time that's, similar so we can do that all over again. It's not going to work. They're not going to give us equal footing. The FEC is not going to give us equal footing. The state election boards that right now are trying to completely shut us out of the process by telling us that we have to get a ballot access at a time that you're not allowed to leave your house with petitions, they're not going to give us a fair chance. The only way that we're going to break through and have any kind of being able to move the needle on the national level or even the state level is to completely subvert their system, use their system against us. And the only way you can do that is with the kind of nonlinear messaging that Vermin has been using as someone who, prior to this, he's the most well-known candidate, and he never even, his runs before consisted of him hanging out and trolling people for a week or so in New Hampshire every 4 years. And he is head and shoulders above the other candidates in terms of the knowledge of him and perception of him and his popularity, especially with the exact kind of voters who are the most likely to consider voting third party. In my mind, it's a no-brainer. But even if you don't think it's a no-brainer, in my mind, looking at our success rate so far, which is literally zero, and again, not just for president, for Congress, for Senate, for governor, for any of the statewide race, not one statewide race, not one federal election. I would say at this time, we can try, Gary said, try being libertarian with me one time. We're saying, try the free ponies angles with us one time. We see the popularity of it. Go on Twitter right now. No one is saying with Bernie dropping out, I'm voting for one of the other candidates. And I have tremendous respect for most of the other candidates. But they're not saying I'm voting for.
There's a few, Spike.
There's a few.
Full disclosure.
There's a couple that I don't want to vouch for, but no one is saying I'm going to vote.
I'm happy to.
You are welcome to, but no one is saying I'm going to vote for these other candidates. They're saying I'm going to vote for Vermin. I'm going to vote for Vermin. I'm going to vote for Vermin. I'm going to write in Vermin because again, they're not saying I can't wait for the Libertarian Party to put up someone that I can vote for. They're saying I'm voting for Vermin, and if Vermin's not the candidate, I'm going to write him in. I think there's a potential that we have a situation where if Vermin didn't get it, even if he actively encouraged people to vote for the Libertarian candidate, he'd still get more votes as a write-in than the actual Libertarian candidate. This is an incredible opportunity. This isn't about can the Libertarian Party afford to take a hit.
A little hyperbole to me, Spike.
It might be, but this is my opinion.
Okay.
This is not a campaign opinion.
I just wanted to let you know I felt it was a little bit of hyperbole. That's okay.
I personally think that's the case.
Well,
this is not,
I think one way to prove a little bit is there's a new contest that's going on right now that is recruiting new members and soliciting donors using specific candidate links. And as I'm looking at the graph, a new one will come out here in about 5 minutes. It looks like Vermin has more than all the other candidates combined. And I feel like that is an important metric because that's bringing in new people. These aren't people that are already in the party. Let's be real. We're Libertarians. We're going to vote for whoever the Libertarian candidate is, no matter what.
Right.
We need to get new people in. And Vermin has, I think yesterday he was at 60 new members in just a few days. True. And that was more than all the other candidates combined.
Yep.
Why do you guys think you're doing so well in that contest?
Just we're, sharing the link, essentially. Just sharing the link. And
effort.
Pretty much it. Really, just sharing the link, and it's a passive post that people will respond to, and we haven't been pushing it super hard or anything, but we've certainly been sharing it, and
I think that's another indicator, like not even really pushing it, and people are just like, okay, and then when they become members. They're not just signing the pledge. They have to actually pay dues. They have to pay $25. Yeah. So these are people paying $25 to become a member of a party just purely based on Vermin.
And I don't even get a cut of it.
Yeah, well,
unlike some people who have the links, they get a cut of it, but it's a candidate. No, I can't wait till I'm not a candidate anymore. Then some of these state committees will get to pay me for coming and being a speaker and shit.
Chrissy, may I be obliged to have one more question?
Yes, you can.
I want to answer what my favorite snack is.
I hear you have 2 podcasts. What are your podcasts, by the way?
Oh, my podcast. Oh, you want to talk to me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my favorite snack is smoked salmon, and my shows are called The Muddy Waters of Freedom, which is on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and My Fellow Americans, which is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Muddy Waters Media. I've been doing them since summer of 2018, and they've been an absolute blast, and I absolutely love doing it. That's how I met Vermin. Was I had him on my show in, I should probably remember the month. I think October. I think it was October. September or October.
I love all your social media stuff, so I'm excited to meet the guy behind Muddy Waters Media. I follow you on everything.
Oh, cool. Well, it's me. Well, me and Matt Wright. It's me and Matt Wright.
I want to ask the two of you. There was an announcement today in Reason that Gary Johnson's 2012 running mate, Judge Gray, is getting in the race with his vice presidential candidate of Larry Sharpe. That's obviously a very big ticket. And then Justin Amash, literally moments ago, a co-host of the show with much smaller boobs than mine, texted this photo to me. Hannah Cox tweeted, please be... so Donald Trump literally said this out loud. When somebody's president of the United States, the authority is total, and that's the way it's got to be. He said a lot of really dumb stuff today in that press conference. And Justin Amash tweeted, Americans who believe in limited government deserve another option. Hannah asked, please be you. And he said, thanks. I'm looking at it closely this week. So there's a possibility that Justin Amash gets in this race, and you've got Judge Jim Gray now. So what are your reactions to these 2 new competitors to the race?
Well, I will say that I wish we were still doing the live convention circuit, because I would certainly love to be on stage and join those those folks in the debate. And of course, you know, the candidate club is a very fun club. It's a very nice club, very congenial club. And on the circuit, we've always gone out of our way to get along and speak highly of whenever possible. And I think that's a beautiful thing. My campaign is certainly, I've certainly encouraged it to be the most positive campaign possible. You've got your slips here and there, but you know, libertarians, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I certainly welcome Larry and Judge Gray to the race. I think they will make a fine addition. I try and be as truly politic and circumspect as I possibly can. Thank you. Thank you.
Please recognize me for my politeness.
How do you feel about running against Larry Sharp, Spike?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Larry's been a big part of the
Larry's
movement.
going down. Larry's going down.
Spike Larry 2020. Listen, or hashtag Spike Larry. No, I don't have anything negative to say about Larry. Larry's been a big part of the movement. I think it was, you know, I was very happy to see everything he did during his New York gubernatorial race. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see people entering the race. I mean, for a while, it would look like it was just kind of me, and that was interesting. So now having, you know, some more people that have been entering and running in, I think it's great. We can compare and contrast our different styles. We can potentially learn things from each other. Yeah, I'm also not really much of a mudslinger to begin with. I mean, even when Lincoln Chafee was in the race and I would talk about his voting record, I wouldn't, you know, attack him as much as just talk about the fact that we probably shouldn't have someone who votes for, you know, war and surveillance and everything else and gun control and everything else to be our nominee. But you know, I don't really have anything negative to say about Larry, and I look forward to, if we're allowed to leave our houses at some point, I'd love to actually, you know, meet him. So I look forward to it. I have had a bunch of my supporters reach out to me to let me know that they're, you know, doubling down their support in light of it. That's actually how I found out it was happening earlier today, when they said, I don't care what Larry's doing, I'm supporting you. And I'm like, hey, thanks. What's Larry doing? And so then I looked that up. But yeah, I mean, you know, the more people that are in, the more choices that people have. I am confident that we have shown that if the goal of a political party is to contest races as well as possible and to draw people into it and the broader movement that is behind it, that Vermin and I have demonstrated that we're the best path forward to be able to do that. And, you know, the delegates will decide that if and when we're ever allowed to get together. We will have a decision about, you know, who they're going to pick. But yeah, I mean, the Libertarians have some great choices to pick from. I'm just the best one.
That was not like the spicy tea I wanted. I wanted you guys to say fuck Larry, but I love Larry.
Of course you did. We know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
Of course you want us to trash talk those people.
The art of the interview, Chrissy, is noticing what they don't say. And notice that they didn't talk about Justin Amash. So it's what.
Oh, Justin Amash. No,
he's a real politician. So I have no problem just, you know, jumping into his. I mean, gosh, get a fucking break, that dude. Police.
No, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't bring him up because I forgot about him that quickly. No, the thing is, here's the thing with Justin Amash. We have been hearing him say for quite some time that he's thinking about this, and he may or may not do it. But I also, again, I have nothing negative to say about him. I'm not sure if he's ever uttered the Libertarian Party name, despite some people in the party throwing their panties at him for several years now. But I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he may or may not jump in. I think at this point, it's a little bit of an insult, potentially, to be saying, oh, hey, you know, next month, I'd like to be your candidate. But, you know, that's me. I don't know what to tell you.
So to kind of bring up a little bit of more topical stuff, how would the Supreme Spike Cohen ticket handle the whole coronavirus thing?
Oh, well, that's very simple. Number one, we would make coronavirus and COVID-19 against the law.
Yeah.
Essentially,
COVID-free zones, yeah.
COVID-19 and create COVID-19 zones. And if we find you in possession of COVID-19, you will be appropriately dealt with.
Yeah.
Number two, going to go back in time and kill baby coronavirus.
Yeah.
And number 3, I am going to build a microscopic microbial antiviral wall around our great nation.
Yeah.
And perhaps even a moat of Purell.
Yeah. Listen, if you're going to infect people in this country, you have to go through the legal process. We are a nation of laws, and we are going to set up a very robust, like our ancestors' viruses used to have to do when they came here, legally, the right way, and respecting our culture. And that's what we got to do. And I think that some of the bleeding heart pinkos in our party have suggested going back in time and just raising coronavirus to be a better person. I think that's ridiculous. And I think that it's a virus. How do you even raise it? You have to kill it. You have to kill it.
Would you even give a pony to virus criminals?
To virus criminals?
Yeah,
well, yeah. I mean, ponies are actually a natural anti-vector to coronavirus.
All right.
I'm saying that now.
Once we perfect the shrink rays, yes, they're going to get very, very small, and it will be an epic and broad-based battle, a literal battle between ponies and coronavirus.
So speaking of ponies,
wait, which would win in a fight? 50 little coronaviruses or 50 one big pony? That's I think the question.
Well, we also have a badger.
Well, speaking of ponies, Vermin and Spike, what would you name your ponies?
Well, since I'm getting the first pony, I get to name it Tony.
Tony the
Tony the pony.
He just stole my name. Now I got to think of a new name. Crap.
You haven't been thinking about this stuff for months, Spike?
It was Tony.
Tony? Oh, baloney.
Macaroni the pony.
I like that better.
So can you guys, for our friend Chris here, who doesn't understand the joke, can you guys kind of explain pony-based economics?
I believe that I will attempt to explain pony-based economics, yes. All right, it goes a little like this. Once everybody has their ponies, once we have accomplished universal pony ownership, then we will possess equity in the ponies that we own. Now, once you have equity in something, as you very well know, you can use that to borrow against it. And so you will be able to borrow against the equity in your pony. Essentially, we will be creating a class of pony-based debt. Now, once we firmly establish pony-based debt, then we will be able to bring in the brightest and the smartest of all the Ivy League schools, and they will begin to set to work on creating the most opaque and incredibly difficult to understand pony-based financial instruments that you could even possibly begin to imagine. And yes, the answer to your question is we do intend on creating a pony-based bubble in the economy. Now, as you know, bubbles are great things to have in your economy when they are occurring. It means the economy is going full throttle, firing on all 8 cylinders. Everybody's making money. Wall Street's tap dancing on air. And it's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, many bubbles will indeed burst. But this bubble is going to expand bigger and bigger and get incredibly large. And it will never, ever explode. And I'll tell you why. Because it is going to be steel belted and reinforced and last forever. So that's
it's a magic bubble. It's a magic bubble.
You know, some people say, Vermin, are we literally going to be using ponies as currency? And I say, no, that's absolutely ridiculous until we can make them really, really small.
Pony coin.
Yeah.
I feel like, Chris, do you smoke weed?
No.
Okay, totally understand that. That's why you don't get this.
No, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't own a gun. I'm the most uptight libertarian.
You don't own a gun?
What the fuck? Who are you, Sam Goldstein?
How did they even allow your membership? You don't own a gun? They
Sam,
made me show a picture of my gun before I could even sign up.
Sam was my boss, so that's why I am the way I am.
So don't worry, Dustin Nana's right behind you, buddy.
I want to know, does your head get hot in the hat? Does it, like, I've always wondered this about you.
Does my brain bake? Is that what you're asking?
Like, it's like the vinyl, is it rubber? Like your boot? Like, does it get hot in there?
It's actual rubber, and I have worn it in some very temperate climates over the years. 2012 at the RNC was in Tampa, and it was very hot and very humid. And yes, one of these years I will equip it with a thermometer, and then we'll get some accurate readings.
I do enjoy when you say that you've outlasted a candidate in the race. I laugh every single time.
Thank you.
It's very funny, and I also enjoy that. What did I do? So I have a knife. So I have this buck knife, and I wanted to know, if I trade this in, will you give me a better buck knife, or do I get a gun?
Yes.
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 Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
100%.
I'm warming up here. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, you get a lot of stuff. Our campaign gives a lot of things, which is surprising for a libertarian campaign. We're popular and we promise free stuff, oddly enough. But you get a pony. Your pony will be retrofitted with a 20mm Vulcan can. Any weaponry that you have will be replaced with better weaponry and more weaponry. We also give you free cheesy bread with the purchase of any federal explosives permit. We will be legalizing recreational plutonium once the zombies are providing us with all the power that we need by putting them on giant hamster wheels and dangling brains in front of them in perpetuity. The next question becomes, well, what are we going to do with all of these nuclear power plants that are going offline? What are we going to do with all this plutonium? And the answer, of course, is whatever the hell you want. It's your body. Just stay away from us for the rest of for the next 35,000 years.
See, can we get Chris some weed so he can just understand? Because I feel like that's all that's missing for Chris.
Well, so I'm actually I've been sober for about 14 years now, but I wasn't sober, like really heavily not sober, for many years before that. So I'm permanently damaged from that. And it shows every day.
I feel you need to be high to understand sarcasm. I get it. Are you high right now?
Thankfully, a large number of people do. Thankfully, a large number of people do. And if you do Google metrics or anything like that, you just compare the analytics to myself and any current candidate in the race, or against any number of things, really. And I don't know, it's pretty surprising how famous I am for people who seem to claim to the contrary, that I'm unknown outside the party. We've been doing this for a very long time, and once again, a lot of it operates on many levels. I think that's something that needs to be understood too. And I think that most people understand that when we are, referencing one thing, we are clearly referencing another, and having just so much fun with it and lampooning it, and offering a way of looking at things that just isn't presented often enough. And we are just, and one of the beauties of what it is that I've developed and created includes that I offer, we extend the opportunity for adults to pretend a little bit. They like to pretend, and we give them this opportunity, and they're more than happy to play along with it, even though they know full well that they're never going to get their pony or cheesy bread or badger or anything.
Wait, what?
Don't tell anyone. And I mean, a lot of times,
not you. You're getting your pony. You were getting your pony.
Relevant campaign promises is that it's all, I will lie to you. I have no reason not to. All these things, it's up front. You get nothing. Vermin Supreme reserves the right to deny everything, and you get nothing. It's right up there.
I find it really cool that when you talk about adults get to pretend. I actually didn't even tell my son about you. My son is avid on TikTok. He actually just turned 14 today. So he's a huge TikToker.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
I'm trying to find him so he can say hi, but he's outside because when mommy does her show, boy goes outside. But anyway, he's really big on this whole TikTok shit. And he actually showed me. He's like, Mom, look, I think this guy said he's a libertarian. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's Vermin Supreme. And he's like,
That's
the same Vermin Supreme? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, wow, you guys are a lot cooler than I thought. And I was like,
What?
My son has been going to events for his entire life and never thought I was cool
Let
until I
me-
told him.
Let
that
me
I know
say a couple things in defense of Vermin Supreme, because I found this to be an enlightening conversation and gained a newfound respect for you. I will say, from lessons from the Rupert campaign, Rupert and I talk all the time about how we did it the wrong way, and that was putting him in the suit, trying to make him fit into the political norms. You know, we were 2 years before Donald Trump started running, or 3 years. We ran against Mike Pence. You know, and we thought too much about what the local political establishment wanted, what they thought was important, trying to get those people that were never going to vote for us anyways. We would have done it differently. And if he ever ran again, we would. I mean, Trump just completely changed everything. So I do think in that respect, it does make sense. And I do understand what you're saying, and I do get the joke. I do think that I think, Vermin, you know this. You've run for office before. You've been around a long time. For the people that support you, they may not realize how actually hard it is, and how once you get to a certain level and you're the candidate, there's a lot of people that were supporters that change, or that political establishment. You know, Spike, you're very eloquent, and you spoke so eloquently about how 3% isn't a big deal, but that structural advancement from 1% to 3% gained ballot access for so many different states. And if you don't execute the joke the right way, you then move us backwards in all those state legislatures, and they go, well, this isn't even a serious political party. So it's incumbent on your campaign and on you guys and on your supporters to execute it the right way. So I think it is very appealing, but there is a lot of danger, because that the reality is the structural. We have straight ballot access here, or straight ticket voting here in Indiana, and that's just a killer. That's a structural thing that we are trying to change and work with the legislature every single year, and have for 10 years. And we're starting to get some advancement. But if you come in at the top of the ticket and they don't get the joke, well, then that moves us even further back.
Well, once again, this will require strategies. And I have repeatedly stated that I'm more than happy to interface and integrate and welcome the input of the LNC itself during the general, if I were to be selected the nominee. People like yourself, I would hope to pull into the campaign for just such advice and strategy sessions. There's an amazing talent pool within the LP, and it will indeed take all of us dedicated to essentially owning the joke and moving forward with it and using it for all it's worth. But once again, using its potential as an attention getter, eye opener, foot in the door before giving the hard sell. I mean, it's always good to start with a laugh. And yes, I imagine there will be explaining, because even the last election, there was a meme that went around. That was a picture of me at one of the debates with the boot on the head. I think up in New Hampshire, and not a libertarian debate, but a classic Vermin clip. And it went out there with the phrase, "This is what Bernie Sanders looks like to sane people." And it bounced around the internet. It bounced. I mean, it got huge play in the right sphere of the internet. And then it boomeranged and came back, and it was retitled, "This is what Trump looks like to sane people." And it bounced around as a viral meme. So, in previous years, yes, as a meme, the message can be used like that. But I believe that we can use it and utilize it to push the liberty and libertarianism forward to places it's never been, and bring in a lot of people who might not be coming to the party. I mean, I can say with full-on certainty that just my mere affiliation with the party and working with the party on this level. And of course, you know, I run for president. That's what I do. It's what I've done for 30 years. It shouldn't be a huge surprise, but I believe I've been trying to convince the party that I'm not out to troll the party. I mean, yes, we'll troll America and the duopoly together, but that's part of the part and parcel of the entire offer. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at where the majority of people get their news, it's from humorous sources: late night news, The Daily Show, Donald Trump's tweets, memes, like I'm sorry, we are libertarians. If you look at where people are getting the Muddy Waters of Muddy Waters Media, if you look at where people are getting their news, they're trying to find someone who's presenting it in a humorous way. And the reason that they're doing that is because things are scary right now, and sort of always, and are presented as doom and gloom by establishment media, but also because the most powerful way that you can lower people's cognitive defenses and get them to actually listen to what you have to say is through humor. If you present it as a humorous thing, look at the George Carlin routines. He would start with silly jokes and funny humor, and about somewhere between around halfway, 2/3 of the way in, he's not even telling punchlines anymore. He's just dropping, anti-establishment, agitprop basically, and getting applause lines from the people watching. Every once in a while, he'd drop in a humorous note or a punchline just to keep them engaged, and then he'd typically end it with humor as well. But those were political things that he did. Those were basically political speeches he gave that were sandwiched and couched in humor. And he's not the only comedian to do it. He's just the first one that came to mind. But we're essentially doing the same thing. We're using humor to get into spaces that no other candidate, no other third-party candidate, and even the Republican candidates can't truly get into. I mean, think about the fact that in the last presidential election, something like 46% of eligible voters, people who were already eligible and registered to vote, didn't vote because they looked at the options that they knew they had and said, yeah, no, none of this is worth getting off my couch and going to a polling location on a Tuesday, or even filling out an absentee ballot and sending that in. It's not worth my time. They're all lying to me. The entire system is a joke. What an opportunity for us to say, yeah, the system is a joke, so let's hand them a clown. Instead of you being the punchline this year, let's turn around and make the entire system a punchline. And that's why it's been so appealing. That is why Vermin and I have almost twice as many signups in this recruitment contest as all of the other candidates combined. It's not because they're not trying. So far.
Plenty of time till it's over.
So far. We're at around an hour, and we're about to get to final words. But Caden came in, and I wanted to introduce Caden to Vermin and Spike, and it's his birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, kid!
See, look, it's Vermin Supreme. I'm actually, look, Caden, I'm cool. I got Vermin Supreme on my show.
How would a Vermin Supreme administration celebrate birthdays?
Well, I would call up each and every American, all 300 million of them, on their birthday, and I would sing to them. And yes, it would go something like this. Thank you.
Caden, how was your birthday song?
Great.
Now he's gonna go tell all of his friends he got to meet Vermin Supreme and got sang to for his birthday.
Got serenaded, yeah.
High five to the camera. Boom.
All right, guys. Since we're at about an hour, is there any last words before we go? Anything you'd like to tell the Chris and Jessi audience, or the Chris and Chrissy audience, whoever the fuck we are tonight?
Chris and Chrissy.
I'd like to say to Chris, I mean, what you should understand about what it is that I do is it is a communication strategy, and it's a communication strategy that it does include simple, elegant, and effective methods, and the boot and the crazy platform planks for that. But they've been wildly successful, and I believe that we can utilize it. I mean, you must ask yourself, can we use humor as a weapon against the duopoly? Can we use a humor as a weapon against the status quo? Can we get humor to grow the party? And my answer is most certainly yes to all of those questions and more. more random questions.
The tagline to my podcast since 2012 has been "All of the irreverence modern politics deserves." So I get it. I'm in on the joke now. Thank you for enlightening me.
Yay!
No, thank you. And I ask for your assistance in now that you can conceptually grok it in helping us phrase it or be able to explain it in a simple, forward manner to people who disagree, but like as you did previously until we at least presented our case. So I would appreciate that.
Hey, you guys, this was actually a ploy. Jess could have totally done this whole thing. We just knew Chris was a hater, so this was all a ploy.
Perfect. And Chris, I would like to say,
there's a difference between not getting it and being a hater. There's other candidates in this race where I'm a hater. Trust me. Yes, Spike.
Well, I just would like to say I resent that we didn't have more opportunities to talk about my favorite snacks, and hopefully we can address that when Jess is the co-host. But anyway, whatever. I'm not bitter. No, I'm not bitter. We
also missed. What was your longest road trip?
My longest road trip was driving to New Hampshire and then back after getting coronavirus in New Hampshire.
How many lawsuits have you filed in your life and why?
3. So sued the NYPD successfully, sued the LAPD. Well, not successfully, but settled. And had to sue the city of Concord, New Hampshire, in order to have ponies protest Hillary Clinton's book signing tour.
And then I don't know if we have time for the history of activism rainbow gathering.
God, no.
No, we definitely.
Hey, stop talking shit about my questions, bro. I was really stoned when I put those together. Okay.
I would.
Your favorite
I would suggest and request that you watch the documentary "Who is Vermin Supreme?"
I will.
On Vimeo. I mean, it really will let you know where I come from my career, what I've been doing for forever. Yes.
Well,
and
if you want
to join us, if you're in on the joke, if you're hashtag in on the joke now too, be sure to go to verminsupreme2020.com. You can buy. We have new merch in the store. Be sure to buy lots of sweet Vermin Supreme merch.
Is this not the coolest fucking candidate shirt you've ever seen?
It's very cool.
And it only gets better from there. Yep, verminsupreme2020.com. You can donate to us. You can donate to us with crypto. Give us some of that Bitcoin you've been hodling. And if you want to join the team and sign up and volunteer, be sure to contact us on our forum. We are on all social media. So if you're looking for either Vermin Supreme or me on social media, simply look for Vermin Supreme.
I don't think we're on Snapchat, are we?
Yeah, I'm not. You might be.
Not yet. I mean, there's people who use my name for sure. I can guarantee that right now, if you go to Snapchat and type in my name, you'll find a dozen people who are using my name for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But once again, Chris, understand, the boot is not attached to my head.
Look, he took it off.
I am not my character.
I knew that there was performance behind it. I was aware that there was I didn't think that you were a crazy person. Like.
Oh no, I've met him quite a few times. I've even smoked with him, and I still believe 100% he's a crazy person.
There's too many.
Crazy's a spectrum, first of all.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum.
Too many people I respect that take you very, very seriously and support your campaign. So it was just a matter of I hadn't gotten around to once convention time rolls around, then I'll pay attention to the candidates, I guess. But so
that is the only metric. Once again, I mean, I don't know these things, but because I have so many principled libertarian representing the left and the right parts of the party. I mean, that's the only way that I can tell it's real because of the people who have stepped up and endorsed my campaign, real libertarians. And, otherwise I would have to wonder. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I was recruited into this role and have developed this very large base of support within the party and some very, a number of people whose opinion I respect because I just don't know enough in order to fully know if it is the right thing to do. If I wasn't me, I would have to question myself. because I am me, I have no choice but to present it in the most positive light. Thank you. I'm Vermin Supreme. A very reasonable man making a very reasonable offer. I am the pragmatist choice. Thank you.
All right, Chris, do you have any last words?
Yeah, just thanks to everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, please go download We Are Libertarians. That's the podcast. Visit wearelibertarians.com. That's where the website's at. Had a great episode that we just posted tonight. And I would just say that if everybody could spend as much time calling their favorite nonprofit and getting involved in the front lines of what's happening in your community, as much time as you spend bitching online, put that much effort into helping a nonprofit. I host the public affairs show here in Indianapolis for our radio station cluster, and you cannot imagine the need that is happening in the communities in terms of suicide spikes, opioid spikes, food security issues, child abuse. Like there's a local COVID shelter with 60 kids in it who their guardians are in the hospital or have passed away and they need clothes. Like there is so much need happening right now, and libertarians need to be the group that step up and show that we're here to help. And I totally understand all of our concern with liberty and what's happening. There's not much we can do about that, but we sure as heck can call up a nonprofit and say, can I give you money? Can I give you clothes? Can I give you some of my food stores? What can I do to help you? And that is truly how we're going to change the world. That is truly something we can empower our communities in. That's a direct response that we can have, that we can feel good about. And
so awesome, because you sound like exactly what I like to say to my people on my podcast.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
I think we are so on the same page in that. We're talking about mutual aid and volunteerism and charity and love and compassion, and that's the only thing that's going to see us through this mess for sure.
Yeah.
So,
there's so much.
I appreciate that message, Chris. I so much appreciate that you put voice to those sentiments also.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this is way too much like kindness and love for my
Jesse.
show.
Wait,
that's
I
about
want to
everything
say I
happy.
love people. No, I want to talk about how much I love people now too, since everyone else has. When people ask, without government, who's going to do whatever, help people after disasters, help people during pandemics, help people that are poor and suffering, the answer should not only be we will, but demonstrating that we're doing it and actually putting our ideas into action as much as we possibly can. What a perfect way to do that, to help others, not just because we should be helping others and want to help others, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, but also it helps with our message that we don't need government. Government makes it worse, and we're here cleaning up after government's mess. So no, I am very thankful that came up.
I don't know if the three of you feel this way, but I feel that libertarians sometimes are overly fearful of government, and they need some place to channel some of that anxiety. And like, I just feel like this is the place where people need to get involved. They can put your efforts into that. Like, the Libertarian Party is really important. All this stuff is really important, but you're probably not going to change the system in overnight. That's a gradual thing. But this is something, man, where a bag of food, I mean, they're having a really hard time at some of these food shelters here in Indianapolis and just buying food. And so
it's gonna be some really hard time for a lot of people for perhaps a long time. And we have to try and do what we can and propagandize them at the same time, of course.
Yeah, actually, we had a really good idea before our state got completely locked down to serve a lot of the children that were on the free lunch program, serve them lunches from our Libertarian Party headquarters.
I've been giving shout outs to that program at debates and on podcasts, and it's definitely getting shout outs from me.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's we just thought it's such a great idea. And why not slip a couple libertarian things in there for their parents to read?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're really, really happy you stayed on. Feel free to stay on after I end this broadcast, and Jess can come on and chat with you for a minute. Thank you. You guys are so great. I know I see your eggs. They look like great eggs.
Put your eggs away, Spike. The broadcast is
I just wanted to show my eggs. I'm sorry.
Okay, those are beautiful eggs. Which no one's ever said to me. So that's a beautiful boot, beautiful eggs, Chris, beautiful boobs, and me, beautiful curly hair. So now that we're all feeling super filled up with our ego, I love you all, and thank you again for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thanks for coming.